Okay, so today we're going to continue our topic on journeys. So we have an overlying philosophy at Nam that healing happens through journeys. If there's a popular movie, Eat, Pray, Love. It's like Julia Roberts. It's an example of journeys. Maybe not as dramatic as that, but sometimes as dramatic as that. Journeys can take you anywhere, and any healing from whatever problem that you have involves a many-step, multiple kind of complicated road to healing. Because we've been talking lately at birth, we're really broad-minded, and then over time we become more and more narrow, like a downward spiral. And usually at some point we've become narrow enough that it affects our life. We lose stress management capacity. It starts impacting our performance. Maybe we start to use drugs, alcohol, or unhealthy relationships, or some problem happens. You seek help. And so wherever a person gets to, the journey towards healing is kind of the same way, slowly, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, and we can slowly broaden our perspective. A journey involves many people, places, things, ideas, miracles, all sorts of things go into journeys, and most of that's above my pay grade. So as a doctor, as a trauma therapist, as an addiction doctor, as family doctor, at Nam, we feel that healing from anything complex, mental, addiction, chronic pain, really anything that's taken you sideways, healing usually involves journeys. And it usually involves roots. So these are really, really important. Roots are that invisible thing that lets you generate the energy and strength. No one can heal you other than your roots. Your degree of your healing is directly proportional to how much energy you can take from the roots. Roots to what? Again, it's above my pay grade, that invisible source of energy that's in us, all around us, whatever that is. Many call that God, infinite, universe, magical essence of nature, Vaheguru, Allah, all of these different things, Jesus, but it harnesses something. And that energy, connecting to that somehow, is a lot of what we initially, where we start a healing journey. Why do we do it that way? Simply because the stronger the connection to the roots, the more energy you have to deal with the blocks. No energy, then it's kind of like, I don't know, you got a fire, right? Imagine, I live on an acreage. Insurance is more expensive at an acreage. Why? Because the fire hydrant is like, 10 kilometers away. Right? So let's say the fire hydrant's right there, but it's low pressure. My house is burning. A little fire hose isn't going to really do it, right? You need enough energy if it's a big fire. But if it's a tiny fire, if it's just like a burning couch, maybe just a bucket of water will do it. You need enough water to put out the fire. You need enough energy to address the blocks that have kept you narrow and stuck. The more narrow and stuck you are, the more energy you need. And so a journey to find roots to true identity, discovery of self, that's often what involves in a healing journey. Not just at Nam, but really anywhere, any place, any therapist, any institution, any yoga camp, anything. It all involves journeying. And at Nam, certainly we teach some principles where we can journey efficiently. So today I'm just going to share a few tidbits about journeys. How you start and how you end is more important than what you do. So how you start something, anything. How you end anything is more important than whatever it is you did. This is really critical because most of the time, because we've been living in a trauma box of narrow thinking and really just survival mode, right? When you're down here, you're surviving. This is survival mode. You're not thinking about how to start right. You're not thinking of how to end right. You're just like flailing to just keep head above water. The trouble is, if we're taking that analogy, someone like, you're like drowning and some lifeguard jumps in. What's the first thing they tell you to do?
Calm yourself.
Are they going to touch you? If you're you're going to drown them too. In fact, they teach lifeguards how to kick because otherwise you're going to drown your lifeguard. First thing is just calm down. Calm down. Stop flailing. You're actually making yourself sink faster. We have a saying in trauma world. We say slow is fast. Relaxed is easy. There's all sorts of sayings. When you start right and you end right, things go better. In fact, you bring new things that you may never have even imagined into your life. You see, a journey is not just one straight journey. Think of going up a mountain. Let's say it's a big mountain like Everest. It takes a couple of days to go up Mount Everest. First you go to base camp, and then you go up, and then you camp, and then you don't just go straight running. Maybe the Sherpas do, but don't suggest that. I don't even think they do. They know slow is fast up on Everest. Slow is very much faster. So there's legs to a journey, right? You maybe go this far day one, and then from here to up here, and from here to over here, because it's just better. From here to then up here, maybe from here to down here, because, journeys are kind of like that. Start, stop. And if you messed up one leg of the journey, that's okay. You can always course correct. You can always do it better. People come to treatment. They've messed up. Even when I tell them, do this, this, and this, and they're like, no, doc, no. This is the right time for me to go back to my family. I got it now. Okay. A couple of weeks later, they're back. Court case, and this, and that, and, That's okay. Not wrong. I'm not God. I don't know. You have to be allowed to make mistakes in journeys. And there's always grace. There's always forgiving. Every journey, if you take a wrong turn, you will be given an opportunity to take a right turn. At some point you'll die, right? Can't do that forever on Mount Everest. You're going to run out of oxygen. You're going to run out of food. It's deadly out there. Last stats I saw on addiction in Canada, I think 1,000 people a week are dying. Everyone's talking about opioids, but I'm talking about like alcohol and stimulants and large killers. Certainly opioids are big killers too. Mental health, lots of people suiciding every week. People die on the mountain. People die on the journey. So serious. But so long as you draw breath, you have the opportunity to do it better. How do you do it better? What do we teach at now? A whole bunch of ways that you can start a journey better. Yeah, you messed up the last 20 years, that's okay. It happened. Maybe you're at a low point, but you can start a journey from a low point. You're still alive, still got breath, still got energy. Every journey has a start, a middle, and an end. if you start right, maybe you don't take that wrong turn. You see, journeys, you have to be going somewhere, but what if you're going in the wrong direction? That's one of the things that's so hard about healing. What direction do you go into? Do you talk about trauma or do you not talk about trauma? Do you talk about faith and higher power, or is that just garbage? Do you need help, or should you do it alone? Should you make your bed, or does that even matter? These are all very important questions. I don't blame people for being lost. It's very confusing out there. As a doctor, I was very confused. Still am. Don't know much about much. But if you start a journey, you wake up in the morning, you make your bed, one good decision leads to many others. Starting with something sacred, ending with something sacred. Starting with something sacred lets you, have it go better, right? Ending with something sacred, gratitude, a prayer, may add significance to whatever that, it may honor what that was. We have to celebrate the successes. In the trauma world, right, they teach us, once in a while, just pause in a session and just think, yeah, you know what, remind the client how far they've come. It's good. You've all come a ways. Your journey started long before us. It's going to continue long after us. We have to appreciate the view. Sometimes we can be working so hard for something we think matters, but in the end, it didn't matter at all. It was just a wrong, really wrong turn on the mountain. Wasted a lot of time. So, how you start and how you end is more important than what you do. And I know people are really attached to what they do. In the big scheme of things, what we do in any segment of this journey, it'll matter a lot more. So we have the second saying. If you don't start right, things won't go as well. And if you don't end right, it may not matter. So if you don't start right, things won't go as well. We talked about that. And if you don't end right, the significance of it may be lost. Good example of that. Job that you worked really, really hard. Everyone's had boss, right? That you slaved away for a long time. That you weren't appreciated at some point. And then, let's say that you kick up a fuss at the end and you sort of create a bunch of drama and you leave with a big mess. You think you're going to want to remember that whole 10 years you spent there? No, you're going to shelve it away. You're going to feel bad about it, you're going to be mad about it, but you're certainly not going to think about it. And are you going to use that boss as a reference? No. You're not. Because that boss may say bad things about you. Right? But that didn't mean that you didn't put in a ton of effort, though. It's just in the end, it didn't matter as much what you did there. And a lot of people walk away from jobs really regretting that, man, I put so much work, but what do I have to show for it? When you end right, what you do is you frame things. So frame is like a cube. You got a cube. You got a picture frame. Have you ever seen a picture inside like an ugly frame? Does it look as good? Really takes away from it, right? It may take you can put the Mona Lisa right in like the crap, like the crummiest sort of frame. Does it look like it's worth $1 million if it's in like just some like like Dr. Gill made thing like that? You're gonna be like, it really affects our ability to take in the beauty of or value. Yet it's silly because the frame certainly doesn't take nearly as much skill as what's in it. But the frame is everything. Framing is expensive. You want to go frame like something, get a custom frame, you're going to pay $400 or $500 if it's a good frame. More. And people pay it because of the importance of framing. So if you frame 10 years of your life inside something negative, right? 10 years of your life, energy. What is energy? Effort results in energy. Anything you put a lot of effort in, it collects energy because you've put in effort. You know, you work a job for 10 years, you put in effort. You're in a relationship for 20 years, you put in effort. That effort becomes potent. Anyone been betrayed in life? Yeah? Does it feel good? Worst feeling ever? It is, isn't it? It's not a good feeling, the betrayal. Anyone betrayed by a friend? Does it hurt the most?
Yeah.
So let's examine that. Why is that? Why is it a betrayal from a friend hurts the most? It's really simple. Tons of energy, and then they did the one unforgivable thing. They took, a nice cool frame like a blue, and then they, turned it into this like Hulk colored frame. Now it's ugly like slime. Same energy. Now all of a sudden you're stalking them, you're like road raging, you're mad, you're gossiping, you're rallying the troops, you're doing all this stuff. Energy is just energy. It's not bad or good. We talk a lot about same energy that warms up your food can also burn your house down. Fire is fire. It's not bad, it's not good, it just is. Put a fire next to a couch, it's going to burn your couch. Put a fire next to your sizzling pan with like your tofu on it, it's going to make some nice food. Same amount of energy. How you end something is really, really, really important at framing. So that's why if you don't end right, it may not matter. You can do a great job at a project, right? You can work really, really hard to make the ends meet. A lot of men, they work really hard to make money, and in the end their wife leaves them or something, right? And then you ask the wife why they left, A, B, and C, but it really is, there was no connection. You sacrificed the relationship with your wife for your relationship with your job. That's common in the world of recovery. Money doesn't buy happiness, as they say. But not for lack of work. You can journey in any direction really hard. I meet every day. I don't meet lazy people often. I meet a lot of people trying to figure out their life all the time, often journeying in the wrong direction or in a very counterproductive direction. So they're accruing energy, but they're framing it negatively. Messy divorces are like that. Yeah, you can fight really hard to get your $50,000 that you deserve as your half of the relationship, not realizing that the kids are taking it all on. And grow up. Now you're going to be paying the therapy bills. Probably more than anything you got out of the settlement. So how you end things versus a divorce that ends just gracefully. Still talk, not partners, raise the kids together. There's a world of difference between how those children turn out and what the supports they need and how complicated their lives are. Simple. How you start and how you end can be instrumental in determining, are you really twisting your way up that mountain, or are you taking the straightest path possible? And it's okay. If what you've done is what you've done. What's been done to you has been done to you. I'm just advocating that you learn to start better and learn to end better. Only way you're going to do that is awareness. And so, at any leg of the journey, I just want to emphasize this point. So a journey could be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be with a treatment center, like no. It could be with the therapist. It could be in a location. But every journey, there's always choices. What do you do? Is the journey going well? Is the journey not going well? We always have to decide, are we going to course correct or are we going to stay the course? Are we going to end this segment and start a new one, or are we going to keep walking along? These are decisions, constantly, throughout the day, 100 times a day. Decisions. Decisions throughout a job, throughout a relationship. Journeys are multi-segments. But every journey, you have choice. Do you stay or do you go? That's the big choice. Do you stay and keep going business as usual, or do you change something? Okay? So do you stay with grace? Grateful for what you have? Thankful? Gratitude? Happy? Content, even if it's hard? Or do you stay with resentment? You stay, you're still walking the journey, you're still in the relationship, you're still at the job, but are you filled with like, oh, no one appreciates me? Or are you staying happy, content, even if it's hard? How many have stayed in something that you didn't like, but you stayed anyways? You didn't like what was going on, but you stayed anyways. Because you had to, because of whatever reason. So staying with grace is staying with acceptance. So, if you chose to stay with like anger, or with resentment and negativity, what eventually happens? Is it good? Does it stay forever? What eventually happens? You know? In Punjabi Pungal, you know, we sabotage. We play a self-defeating game, right? We figure out a million ways to make ourselves or others miserable. When you stay, right, you don't listen to the signals, something bad's happening, you don't have the tools to deal with it. But not every resentment is resolved with the resentment prayer. You must have noticed that. There's some resentments that stay no matter what. Because the answer is not the resentment prayer. The answer may be leaving and changing something. Sometimes the answer is to learn to change the resentment into acceptance. We teach that first because a lot of times that is the answer. But sometimes it really is a course correction that's needed. Sometimes you do need to change the relationship. Sometimes you do need to change the job. Sometimes you do need to change the situation. Even with Nam, a patient came a while ago and said, you know what, grown a lot here. I think I'm done my journey here. I said, congratulations, good job. Nothing is permanent on that journey. Sometimes you do need to move on. What happens when people stay at our treatment center, the inpatient, what happens as these people stay longer and longer and longer? Anyone know? Is it good?
No.
What starts to happen?
Just like codependent.
Yeah. The codependent stuff starts happening, and like, oh, and the food's no longer tasty anymore, and you know what? There's a problem with the parking, and this isn't good, and that isn't good, and the hypercriticality comes up because it's time for a change. But the person who came a couple of weeks ago and said, you know what, I'm ready to make a change, this person made a change with grace. She ended well. She said, you know what, Dr. Gill, I've gotten a lot. Thank you. It's time for me to move on, but I'll come back if I need. Not a negative parting. Person's happy, we're happy, and very likely to come back. If ever needed, maybe not needed. But what would happen if the person just dropped the F-bomb and just like graffitied everything, and you think that person's ever gonna come back? Unlikely, right? Even if they know they need to, they won't come back. Because they're gonna feel guilt and shame and find every excuse not under the sun not to come back. Are they welcome back at Nam? Yes, absolutely. We welcome anyone back if they truly wish. So this is a really important point. Stay with grace, stay with resentment. That's a choice. If all your tools to vent and deal with the resentment and all of the many tools, if you don't know any tools, you should learn a bunch of tools, don't work, then maybe the question is it time to leave? And then the question is how do you leave? How do you end something? Because the end is the frame. How do you want to be remembered? You know, Donald Trump won the presidency. The second term of a president, well, at least at the time, it's 8 years, right? That term limit. So the second 4 years, it's about legacy. They're not looking to get reelected. They're learning what do they want the history books to say? Because that's how you end. That people remember. And you know, ending a friendship in a good way may make that resource available to you later on. Most people learn how to end things with resentment, and this is role modeled. There's a popular rap song. You know, if the man cheats, you're gonna spend all his money, hit him up, or I can't remember the name of the song. You know the song I'm talking about. It's resentment. Let's say your car breaks down and you only have one phone number on your phone, and it's that person. If you end it in a right way, maybe you'll be able to call them. Leaving with grace, leaving with resentment. Sometimes it is time to go. Either you end it in like a adult way, calm. Just say, thank you for everything, even if someone did it, like harm to you, right? You still say thank you. You own your 50% of your 100% of your 50%. And you leave with the grace. This isn't just people, relationships. This is like every day. Let's say you messed up today. Let's say you said some bad things about somebody today. End with grace. Say a prayer. Make amends. Make a phone call. Own up to what you did. Write about it. Journal. End with something to process. These days we're talking about fundraising. Sometimes marketing, like when you're at a table, someone gets mad at you. Volunteers who are sitting at tables, they take that on. So, every good organization that has volunteers debriefs with them at the end of the shift. It's like, hey, what went well? What went not so well? And they talk about it. They're more likely to volunteer again the next time. So, I really want to just emphasize this idea of ending. And ending with grace. It's always a choice. In a journey, you have choices. Many times a day you have choices. You're angry in the morning, you have a choice. Once you become aware, you have a choice. You have a choice to go to the bathroom. Start a new leg of the journey. Okay, you messed it up, you're mad, you're swearing, go to the washroom. Okay, you have peace, do something. Tapping, prayers. And now you're going to start a new beginning. A good ending leads to a good beginning. Start and end with something sacred. And remember that your journey becomes long. It starts long before anything you do. Let's say you're at Nam right now, or you're watching the YouTube channel. Your journey began long before you turned on this, or watched this, or attended this. And it's going to continue long after. And that's a good thing. Function is restored sooner, but journey is lifelong. A person with a severe addiction is journeying lifelong. A severe mental issue, they are journeying lifelong. But their life will have high quality. They'll have to do self-therapy all the time. That's a healthy life. Okay? Any questions about journeys? Yeah.
And I think you answered my question, Doctor, before, but I just wanted to reaffirm what I think I understood. Is that the 4 options that you had presented before are pretty much interchangeable. Let's say I can stay with resentment, but I can live with grace.
Yes.
So there is not like a flow, like a specific
Yeah, you're totally right.
point.
It's kind of like, it's a good question, right? So let's say you've really, you're like, you're kind of going, this is health, right? And you're like on the decline. At any moment, you can decide to like do something better. Yep, better if you do it up here. There's less recovery to do. If you stayed with resentment for 10 years, it's definitely going to be harder than if you stay with resentment 1 year. If you stay with resentment 1 day, you address it, maybe you can stay longer. If resentment is never ending, it's returning again and again and again. No matter how much trauma work you do, no matter how much, there's probably some issue. There's probably some life choice. There's probably something you're not looking at that really needs attention. That's bringing out, it's called a wicked problem. Wicked problem. A wicked problem, that's actually a term. It's a term from science. Wicked problems are problems that are really hard to solve. Addiction, mental health is considered a wicked problem. These are complex problems that don't have an easy solution. Wicked problems are almost always symptoms of a different problem. So a simple problem is generating vaccines. Hard to do, it's not easy, but making a vaccine is a scientific process. It can be done. Getting the world to take it, much harder, because all of a sudden people have like government trust issues and media issues and messaging issues and, you know, distribution issues and fairness issues, and it's much harder to get people to take up a vaccine. So when you're staying, let's say you've done something, right? Let's say you've ended something badly. What's an amend? You know, part of 12-step program is making amends. The more you go back in life and clean up stuff that is helpful to clean up is good. If 5 years ago you did something real wrong to somebody and it bothers you, probably good to go say sorry if you've deeply worked it through. It's not going to make the situation worse. Ask your higher power. If you stay somewhere and you realize, oh man, I'm resentful, anytime you can course correct and flip that into staying with grace. If you're in the middle of leaving with resentment, you can flip it and say, oh, I just went a bit crazy there, sorry. Yeah, you know what? Redo. Thank you for the opportunity. I know we had agreed to disagree on a lot of things, but you know what? I'm glad that we're moving to the next stage. And mean it. So, absolutely interchangeable. Other questions, comments? So today we really focused on this concept of leaving with grace. Legs of a journey. How you start and how you end is more important than what you do. So start and end right. Learn how to start. Learn how to end. And things will go really well on your journey. You're starting and ending hundreds of times a day. Every moment of awareness where you're like, whoa, I know where I am, that's when you start. And you can choose a different direction. Start becoming conscious of your starts and your ends of your journey. You go on a break, you know, from the session. What do you do during that break? That's another segment of the journey. You do that better, chances are you're going to get more out of the session. You spend a session gossiping, chances are you're going to be distracted when you go back into the new session. It's going to take you longer to learn. Maybe you'll have to do the treatment program again. Right? So, I think that's all I have to say on the concept of journeys. Anything I missed? No? Good. And if I misspeak, please forgive me.